You might want to use the microphone.
Oh, yeah, totally. We're so thrilled that you all are here. 1 Million Cups, for those of you that don't know, we are a national organization. We're out of Kansas City, Missouri. There's like 120 chapters-ish, around the country. 144, the current number, 144. So in 144 cities, just like this, people are getting together. They're talking, they're drinking lots of coffee, there's snacks, all of that stuff, and we're making our cities better places just by connecting. So that's what's happening here. I think there's as much value in the before and after conversations that happen as there are from our amazing presenters. And today is no exception. We have an amazing presenter with an amazing company that's going to share for just a little bit about what they're doing and what they're up to. And then afterwards, we'll open it up for Q&A. So what that means is if you have questions that pop up while the presentation is going on, make sure you write them down and let's have a good conversation afterwards. Lots of value in that. So just want to say again, raise your hand if this is your first time. Nice, lots of first timers, good. Make sure if this is your first time that you have a good conversation. I guess I can't force that, but even if it makes you uncomfortable, just say hi to somebody else and make sure that you kind of get that connection. Today, though, is a special day. Today, if you can't tell, is a different day. Today, we are going to have Thomas Kaufman, no relation to Kaufman Foundation, or is there? Are you?
No, they misspelled my last name.
Oh, they misspelled. That's right, one F. But so you're not the wealthy benefactor of
Unfortunately not, no.
Foundation. Okay, all right. So don't ask him for money, but today Thomas is going to share on his company, OTOjOY. So let's just give him a very warm round of applause and welcome him up.
Well, thank you very much, Luke. Appreciate it. So, can everybody hear me okay? Yeah, raise your hand if you can't hear me. Okay, cool, we're good then, right? I think some people can't hear. So if you struggle to understand me right now, we actually have assistive listening receivers right here. You can check those out, but you're going to have to leave an ID for deposit with Micah because we need to make sure we get the devices back at the end of the presentation. So you might want to go and grab those because it might make it a little easier. You don't have one yet, huh? All right, so I think everybody has a receiver now, so this should sound a little better now. Stacy's cracking up there. All right, so welcome. I think everybody can hear me now. Raise your hand if you can't hear me. My favorite question. Do we have any introverts in the audience? All introverts, raise your hand. All right, here we go. So, my company, OTOjOY, is all about creating equal access to sound for everyone, everywhere. And people say, Thomas Kaufman, who is this guy? Well, I was born and raised in Germany and got a diploma degree in physics from the University of Bonn. Then moved to the US in 2010 to go to grad school in chemistry at UC Santa Barbara. Got my master's and then started OTOjOY 5 years ago to provide better solutions for people with hearing loss. And I'm a Phoenician since May 2017, moved here in May to make sure I catch the entire summer. And as you can tell, I'm very afraid of public presentations. So my doctor prescribed the helmet, so I'm going to have to wear it the whole time. All right, so the company, OTOjOY, people say, is it OTOjOY? No, it's actually OTOjOY. Oto is Greek for ear. And what we do primarily is we install assistive listening systems called hearing loops, which is what you're experiencing right here. And this system transfers sound wirelessly to your headphones and also to people's hearing aids and cochlear implants. And we've done more than 200 installations in California over the last 5 years. And we recently expanded to Arizona and started here. And just this week, we launched our first consumer product, which some of you guys are using. It's OTOjOY Loop Buds. So they're earbuds that plug into your smartphone and allow you to receive that sound directly in your own device. That's also what's plugged into the phone for the Facebook live stream, so everybody on Facebook Live can hear this quality of sound right now. All right, and then we also created the Loop California nonprofit public awareness campaign to reach the community and make them aware of this technology and the benefits it can provide to the people that need it. All right, so what's the problem with hearing loss? This is an audiogram. And what you can see in this plot is on the horizontal axis, the frequency of sound from low-pitched on the left to high-pitched on the right. And on the vertical axis, you can see the volume, the loudness of sound, from soft at the top to loud at the bottom. And then a truck, for example, is loud and low in pitch, and a bird is high-pitched and very quiet. And then in between, you have what we call the speech banana. And what you can see is that all the vowels are around the 500 hertz range, about 50 decibels. So A, O, E, I, and U are all loud and low in pitch. But then you have a lot of consonants like F, S, and TH, and they're in the high-pitched range, and they're a lot quieter. And now if someone has what we call a noise-induced hearing loss, what that typically looks like is this. So what you can see with this line is the faintest sound that the person is able to hear at each pitch. That means anything below this line, they can still hear. Anything above the line is cut out. So in this case, the person can still hear all the vowels, but not a lot of the consonants. So you lose the clarity of sound, but you still have the volume. So essentially what that does is everything sounds muffled. If you want to get an idea of what that sounds like, just take your headphones off. So if you get fit with hearing aids, what your audiologist or hearing aid dispenser tries to do is bring you back up to that flat line of 0 of normal hearing. And that works more or less well depending on your hearing loss and on the device. And so with that, you would actually recover those sounds. So it's important that the device is customized for your level and pattern of hearing loss so that you get the clarity and not just volume. So a lot of people think, well, if I speak up, they can hear me. It's not about volume, it's about the clarity of sound. And you can't recover that by speaking louder. So how many people in this country do you think have hearing loss? What percentage of the US adult population has hearing loss? Just throw out some numbers. 40? 50? It's a lot. So it's actually 20% of the US adult population that have some form of hearing loss in at least 1 year. And the way that's defined, mild, moderate, and severe hearing loss, if you look at this plot again, we've got normal hearing up here in the top right corner, and then there's mild hearing loss. And that starts at 20 dB. And when you go and buy foam earplugs, and you roll them up, and you put them deep in your ear, and you wait for them to expand so that they're actually in and not sticking out, that's about 20, 25, maybe 30 dB of reduction. That's considered a mild hearing loss. I call that really bad hearing. So now, all of those people, 20% of the population, have hearing loss. And if you look at the age distribution, it looks like this. So once you hit 70, you have more than a 50% chance to have hearing loss. So all of these people have hearing aids, right? Well, not quite. It's about a quarter of those. 75% of the people that would benefit from a hearing aid don't actually have one. So why is that? Why would people not buy a hearing aid? I mean, sounds like it would do a great benefit and they could really use it, right? Well, there's a number of factors. The first one is cost. Most hearing aids sell for $3,000 to $5,000 a pair, sometimes even $6,000 or $7,000, and health insurance typically does not cover them in this country. So a lot of people can't afford to hear. The second point is vanity. There's still a significant stigma associated with hearing loss, and people just don't want to stand out. They don't want to be seen as old or having a disability. So they'd rather try to hide that, miss out on a lot of things, and there you go. They get frustrated, they get isolated, but vanity is a big factor. And the third one is denial. A lot of people have hearing loss and they don't even know about it. So it's about educating those people, giving them an experience like you're having right now to see, well, there's this much of an improvement that we can make, and there are devices that can help you. Technology is available for that. And then the third part is this. People say they don't work in noise, they pick up background noise, there's whistling and feedback, they don't work in crowds, and they don't perform as promised. So what's up with that? Hearing aids don't work? That doesn't seem right. But if you imagine hearing your entire life through a microphone, and you're in an environment like this, in a large open space, with a bunch of background noise going on, with planes flying over, all of that is amplified. A microphone amplifies what's closest to it and what is loudest, not what you want to hear. And so now, in a space like this, essentially you have one person presenting, and you have a certain level of background noise. And now, if you're close to me, you're lucky because it's louder. As you get away from me, it gets quieter. And at some point, my voice is going to be quieter than the background noise, and then you can't understand anything anymore. And so essentially, when you get to that point where those lines cross, some people are still able to understand something. If you have a moderate hearing loss, you typically need to be in like the 9 or 15 dB signal to noise ratio range. So you got to be this close. And in what situation do you have an opportunity to be this close to the presenter? That doesn't usually happen. But we can do that, because we can take the microphone I have in here and send it right to your ears. We can stream it right to someone's hearing aids, cochlear implants, these headset receivers that you're using, or with our newest product, directly to people's smartphones, and you can customize your sound. So how does this work? This is the basic, these are the basic components of a hearing loop system. We're starting out with a microphone or any sound system. So essentially any place that has loudspeakers and where someone's using a microphone, that place is compatible with our system, and we can connect to that. So now we have a special amplifier that's sitting right here on the table, and from there we have a wire that surrounds the seating area. We send a current through that wire, which creates a magnetic field in the room, and 80% of all hearing aids and all cochlear implants have what's called a T-coil or telecoil built into the device that can pick up that audio signal. And those headset receivers and our loop buds have the same thing in them. So it picks up the magnetic signal, turns it back into sound, and you get my microphone right into your ears as if I'm sitting right next to you. And that's what makes all the difference. There's one important piece to that. That little T-coil in the hearing aid needs to be activated when someone buys the hearing aid. And a lot of hearing aid dispensers don't actually activate that feature. So it's important that we reach out to those hearing professionals, make them aware of the technology, make them aware that we're installing these systems, so that their consumers buy the right devices that have the feature and that has been activated. And there's still a lot of work in the community that needs to be done so that people can take full advantage of this. So, do people like this? There was a study done about the quality of sound in a hearing loop and not using a hearing loop system. And they asked people about the same environment they were in. How well did you hear? On a scale from 1 to 10. 1 meaning I heard nothing, 10 meaning I understood every single word. And so these are people with at least a mild hearing loss that use their own hearing aids and cochlear implants. And this is the result you get. So it's a pretty broad distribution between like a 2 and a 6. And maybe a 7, and then 8, 9, 10, there's almost nothing there. Now in comparison, the same environments using a hearing loop, this is people's experience. So you've got 90% of those people on an 8, 9, or 10. And hearing what you hear right now, you're probably not surprised about that. And if you want to go back on the 1 Million Cups Facebook feed and listen to the video from last week and hear that audio quality and compare that to today's video, I think you'll notice a little bit of a difference. So now, where can we use hearing loop systems? There's a lot of applications. Essentially all of the most difficult listening environments for people, be it a place of worship, a theater, going to the movies, watching TV at home, and then even at ticket counters or bank teller windows, in taxi cabs to communicate with the driver, or at airports and other public transportation facilities to be able to hear the announcements and not miss your gate change at an airport, for example. And in the UK and in Scandinavia, hearing loops are absolutely everywhere. In the UK, they're even mandated by law, and you can go to any bank or any airport, and you can have access to the sound clearly directly in your own device. And the government pays for a basic hearing aid, and all of the hearing aids that the government provides have a T-coil embedded in them, so you can make use of that technology. And in this country, we're just way behind on that. So with those places, what you don't see a lot in there is music venues. What's up with music? It's all about understanding speech, but music doesn't matter, right? But if you really want to enjoy music, you want to have clarity of sound. You want to have great quality. Ideally, if you could go to a live show and hear it like you do with your headphones when you listen to a live recording, that would be a great experience. But where do we have that? Well, we have that in Santa Barbara, at the Santa Barbara Bowl. That's our largest project so far. The place is outdoors, has 4,500 seats, and every single seat is now within the reception area of the hearing loop system we installed. And you can just walk into that place, sit down in your seat or stand in the pit, flip the switch on your hearing aids, and you get the sound from the performers right into your ears with crystal clear fidelity. So now what do you do if you don't have your own hearing aid? Well, you could ask the venue for a headset receiver, just like you did earlier this morning, but you need to know that they have those available. And if you're lucky, they know where they are. If you're lucky, they're charged. And if you're lucky, they're set to the right channel. If they don't have a hearing loop system, there's multiple channels. Hearing loops are universal worldwide. No matter where you go, you know how the system works. With competing technology, that's not the case. So if you're lucky, the devices are there, they're charged and on the right channel, and you get a good feed. But then you have headphones on, and they may not be sanitary, they may not be the ones you like. So what do we do about that? And a couple of years ago, we said, well, why can't you use your phone to pick up the sound from a hearing loop system? And the answer is simple. Your phone doesn't have the physical capabilities to do that. Your phone does not have a T-coil. So we fixed that problem, and I invented this product. And these are OTOjOY loop buds. Some of you are using them. And these earbuds have a T-coil embedded in this adapter that you can see that has our logo on it. You plug that into your phone, you download our app, you walk into any place that has a hearing loop, and you get the sound right into your own earbuds. And you can adjust your volume, your balance between left and right, you can adjust your equalizer, and in the future we're going to have a bunch of additional capabilities, including captioning, so that you can automatically get the text of what's being spoken on your phone. You can read it, and you can save a verbatim transcript of that. So this product we just launched this past weekend, showed it for the first time at a Hearing Loss Tech Expo in Los Angeles, and people are absolutely thrilled about it. So it's on sale now, and we're talking $75 retail, compared to $3,000 to $5,000, maybe $7,000 for a pair of hearing aids. And if you want to know where you can go to experience the hearing loop system, we created this platform called Loop Finder. It's a website, loopfinder.com, and there's an iOS app for it. And it'll show you all venues in the US that have hearing loops, at least the ones that we're aware of. Right now we have about 4,000 places in the database, and we were recently contacted by Google Maps, and they're actually interested in listing hearing loops on Google Maps to show that accessibility feature and make it easier for people to find out where they are. So what's interesting about this map is you see a bunch of condensed areas. There's Wisconsin, Michigan, New York, California, and then Florida. And what's up with those areas? The reason there's so many hearing loops there is because you have really strong advocates in those areas. You have a lot of consumers and hearing professionals that think this is a great idea and it should be in more places. They go out in the community, they advocate for the technology, they donate towards getting the systems installed if the venue doesn't understand that it's important, and that's how things happen. And that's what we did in Santa Barbara, starting 4 or 5 years ago, and now we have more than 100 places in that area looped. And I recently moved to Phoenix in May, and our goal is to make Phoenix the most hearing-friendly city in the United States. And as we're always finishing with the question, how can you guys help the presenter be more successful? What can the community do? You can do a lot, because if you look at this Venn diagram right here, you'll see what it takes to get hearing loops installed and get a community looped. We need expert installers, companies like us that install these systems, do it well, make sure the sound quality is good, because not all hearing loops are created equal. Just like sound systems, there are some spaces where they sound great, and there are others that aren't that exciting. And then it takes hearing professionals to sell the right devices, activate the feature, and educate consumers. And then it takes advocates, people that would use the technology and ask for it at the venue. Because without that, the venue is going to think, well, nobody needs this. Nobody's ever asked for it. Why would we spend all this money to put the system in if nobody uses it? Well, nobody uses it because usually it's a nightmare for people with hearing loss to go to places, find that it's not accessible, and struggle, miss out, and they have to leave. So a lot of times they don't even show up. And the venues don't understand that. And if you look at those statistics, I only showed the age bracket from 50 up, but even in the 50 to 59 bracket, you're talking 11% of the population. People in their 20s and 30s have hearing loss too. Hearing loss does not discriminate for age. There's a lot of young people that can't hear and would love to go to shows. And you can help them enjoy these shows. And here's how to do that. Go to any place that has loudspeakers. Because any place that has loudspeakers is legally required to provide an assistive listening system. It's in the ADA, Americans with Disabilities Act, and it mandates assistive listening, not specifically a hearing loop system. It can be one of the competing technologies, but they have to have something. And most places don't even have anything when you look in the music realm. When you go to nightclubs or concert venues, most of them don't even know they need to provide this. So go to a venue that has loudspeakers, ask for their assistive listening devices. And if they have something, you're lucky. And then ask them if they have a hearing loop so that you could stream the sound directly to your smartphone with our loop buds or to your hearing aids and cochlear implants if you have any. And if that's not the case, you send them our way. And that'll be 99% of the time. And where do you send them? Send them to hearingloss.sucks, because that'll direct to our website. So, thank you very much. And I'm sure we have some questions, and I'm going to get out of this helmet because it's getting a little stuffy. Whew, gets warm in there. Daryl. So I'm going to repeat the question because otherwise people on Facebook can't hear it. Daryl said he may have missed it because he didn't have the headphones. And you don't have any hearing loss, I assume, right? You missed what I said. How did that happen? So he asked, what brought me to Phoenix? Well, I lived in Santa Barbara for 7 years, and it was getting a little small, and I wanted to get out of the small town. We have about 90% market saturation there, so I needed a larger city. And I was looking at San Francisco, LA, San Diego, but none of those cities really do it for me. I can't stand all the noise and sensory overload around there. It's like wherever you go, it feels like you're in the middle of an intersection. And then last year, I was here in Phoenix for a conference for the, American Academy of Audiology at the convention center downtown. And I was like, wow, this city is great. I'm in the middle of downtown and it's that quiet. And then I started exploring. It's like, wait, there's 4.5 million people here? And there's essentially no traffic noise? How is this possible? And the roads are great and everything's new and modern. And I started networking in the community and reached out to the Arizona Commission for the Deaf and Hard of Hearing. It's a state government program. And met with the executive director and their deaf and hard of hearing specialist. And they were really excited to hear about me thinking about moving here because they've been supporting this technology for the longest time, but there weren't any active qualified installers in the area. So they started introducing me to other people. And the most significant introduction they made for me personally was to Ability 360. Ability 360 is a nonprofit organization that helps people with disabilities live an independent life. And they lobby and advocate on their behalf. They provide resources in terms of assistive technology and support for these people. And what they also do is they operate 3 gyms, fitness centers in Phoenix with equipment for people with disabilities. So it's an all-inclusive gym. And I got a tour of the facility and I was completely blown away. And I started looking around more and realized, wow, Phoenix is one of the most accessible cities I've ever seen. And I've been to pretty much every major city in this country. And Phoenix absolutely stood out. And I was like, this is the place where I want to be. It's so accessible. There's so many resources available. And the market is ready for us. People just embrace new technology. Even though you might not think of Arizona as a progressive state, when it comes to adopting new technologies and new methods, they're just all about it because the city is so new. They're not used to old things that have been done for centuries. So everybody was embracing us here. Everybody was really friendly. And yeah, it's a great market for us. And I love the desert. So yeah, that's what made me move here. And I'm way happier here than I've ever been in Santa Barbara.
Have you talked to anyone about the aging process and the Alzheimer's?
Let me give you the other microphone. Here you go.
Thank you.
Of course.
Have you talked to anyone about the findings that have recently come to light about Alzheimer's and healthy brain aging and hearing loss?
So the connection between Alzheimer's and hearing loss is something that's currently being researched, and I'm not 100% up to speed on the newest research, but as far as I recall, there have been links shown between Alzheimer's, dementia, and hearing loss. So what happens, and that's the trend that's been seen in that field, is if you have hearing loss and you miss out on a lot of things, your brain is just not in that active state of processing all of that. So if you zone out most of the time, it's like training a muscle. If you're not using it, it starts deteriorating over time. Any more questions?
I got a question.
Luke.
So tell us a little bit about what your team looks like. Do you, is it seems like you have a pretty big operation. Do you have sales team and kind of describe that for us?
So what does the team look like? It looks like we have a pretty big operation. There's actually 2 of us full-time here in Phoenix. That's Micah and me. We also have an office in Santa Barbara still because we're stuck in the lease and the landlord won't let us out. So we have that till April. And we bounce back and forth between California and Arizona all the time. And we work like 80 plus hours a week typically. And then we have one person part-time in Santa Barbara who answers the phone and helps us with some admin support. And then we have 2 guys full-time in India, a graphic designer and web developer. And the other person is his brother. He does online research for us, lead generation, and database management. And so that's all of us that are on the core team. And for our installations, we work with subcontractors typically. So it's either one of us or both of us on site for the project. And then we bring in local electricians or carpet contractors that help with the majority of the wire installation. And we essentially oversee the project, tie all the pieces together, and do the integration with the sound system. So we're extremely lean on our core team, but we can scale up to a project like the Santa Barbara Bowl with 4,500 seats. We were on site with 6 to 7 people for about 3 weeks until that was completed. So it's been quite taxing for us, especially doing the installations, trying to work on sales with that, at the same time developing a hardware product, coordinating with software developers in India, Pakistan, and Russia, and working through patent applications. We have 2 patent applications filed. It's been a lot, but it's also been really exciting. So, I mean, we could definitely need more support, but we're not at a point yet where our cash flow really supports that, because R&D eats up a lot of money. And it's difficult to prioritize. Do you focus more on sales and on installations, or do you actually go for the R&D that has a lot more potential for scalability? And finding that balance has been one of the most challenging aspects.
When you work with a team of electricians and such in different cities, are you certifying them to be able to do their own installations without you?
So do we certify electricians that we work with in other areas? Not at this point, because electricians don't usually have the skills to oversee a project in its entirety. But electricians are really good at running wires. If you tell them this wire needs to go from there to there, they'll find a way and they'll make it happen. So we work with electricians that get referred to us by other people. So we make sure they provide quality workmanship, but we don't train them to work independently of us. So our plan to scale that is to have essentially one person that manages the project and is on site, oversees the project, and still working with those subcontractors. The main challenge is that we're spanning such a large territory and don't have enough volume in each isolated area to be able to hire someone at least part-time or full-time to staff that area, and that's why we're traveling so much. We're about like 3,000 to 3,500 miles a month that we're spending in the car. So it's pretty significant. And we're trying to get to the point where we have more volume and say could staff one person for the San Francisco Bay Area, one person for LA, one person for San Diego, one person for Phoenix. That's essentially the goal and the next step in our growth trajectory.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and re-ask the last question that we always ask. You answered it
I'll go back to that slide.
Already, but the question we always end every presentation with is, what can the 1 Million Cups community do for you? This is a community effort, people. We're in this together. So whatever he says now, and he's already given us some great ideas, but is there anything you want to add to that? Whatever he says, let's try to make it happen, right?
Oh, wait, I got a microphone. I don't even need that. Okay, great. So this is one thing you can help with, but since that was already part of the presentation, it looks like I get a second shot. So I've got a backup slide for you guys. And it's not what you can do for me, it's what you can do for everybody in the community. And what I would like you to do is use a microphone. Because this is what you communicate when you tell people, I don't need a microphone. I can hear fine and everyone is just like me. I'm assuming that everyone can hear me, so it's your problem if you can't. My belief that I can project matters more to me than your ability to hear. My discomfort in hearing my own amplified voice is more important than your need to be included. If you really want me to use a microphone, you'll have to assert yourself to request and or justify that need, which will likely be uncomfortable, or I'm willing to exclude people. I don't think anybody wants to send those messages. So if you use a microphone for whatever presentation and encourage other people to use a microphone, and if they don't have one, even if it's in a small space, encourage the venue to install a sound system and provide microphones. It'll be a better experience for everybody. So that's my ask to you guys as a community. Thank you. Hearing loss, that sucks.
Hearing loss sucks. I didn't know that was an address that you could use, but
I didn't know that either until I found out a couple of months ago, and I checked that one. I was like, that's still available. We're buying that.
Yeah, I've got to buy some domains after this. Anyway, so real quick before we kind of let out, and there is a couple announcements we want to make. If you haven't already, we do have a mailing list where we let you know what's coming up for the next week. But other than that, we're just going to let you go, get coffee, get snacks, leave your hearing loop devices here, and we'll see you guys back next week, 9 a.m. We're here every Wednesday, and we'd love to continue to connect with you. Thanks.
Thank you.